Former US President Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty to the latest round of charges. Now, these ones relate to his behaviour after losing the 2020 election.
This is a very sad day for America. When you look at what's happening, this is a persecution of a political opponent. This was never supposed to happen in America.
Yeah, fairly subdued by his standards. Now, daughter-in-law, TV host Lara Trump joins me now. Lara, thank you again so much for coming on my show. It feels a little bit like Groundhog Day with another court appearance.
Yeah, I mean, it's really insane. And the interesting thing, Aaron, is that it seems to coincide every time with some major breaking story about corruption that has occurred within the Biden family. Maybe a day after we get that information, Donald Trump is indicted again. So anyone that has any questions about what is going on here and the ultimate goal of all of this, I think it's becoming clearer every time my father-in-law is indicted. This is about preventing Donald Trump from becoming president again. This is the deep state, the swamp, whatever you want to call it, at its worst. I wish I could say at its finest, but at its worst here. And it's really amazing to see. But yes, here we are, another one on the books. The sad thing, I guess, for the swamp and the great thing for the people of this country is that every time you see this happen to Donald Trump, his poll numbers go up. And I think it's pretty much ensured that he will become the Republican nominee, if not the 47th president at this point.
Yeah, it beggars belief, really, given what the objective is meant to be. It feels like such an own goal. Every single time this happens, donations go through the roof, his popularity soars. You'd think they'd cotton on to maybe what they're trying to achieve isn't working, if that is in fact the case.
Yeah, well, you would think so, but at this point, I guess they're dug in. I guess they've settled on the fact that this is maybe the only thing they have left, because you got to look at who they are running. Joe Biden. This is a guy who has destroyed America in about 2.5 years, who is wholly unpopular, who everyone can see is unfit for the job. And, you know, this guy every day, it seems like, has more and more evidence piling up of the very clear corruption that has occurred, the very clear influence peddling, and the way that he and his son Hunter have sold out our country for decades now, it seems. So I think they know that they have a big problem on their hands on the Democrat side. But yeah, what they didn't count on is every time they try to do this to Donald Trump, it would make him even stronger. And of course, that is what we've seen happen.
Now, nobody's perfect, least of all your father-in-law, but surely the vast majority of Americans, even those who support the Democrats and would never vote for Donald Trump, can see how politically motivated this all is.
I sure hope so, Aaron, because if we have any shred of hope of gaining our country back at this point, people need to wake up. People need to start seeing this. And I really do believe they are. Whenever you look at the very obvious national security implications of what has happened with Joe Biden and his family, and then you compare that to what they are trying to allege Donald Trump did. Heck, look in Manhattan, look at the district attorney, Alvin Bragg, who had to just make up charges, essentially, to try and take Donald Trump down. It is really amazing to see. And yes, I hope the American people are starting to wise up to this. If we don't, if we allow these third world communist tactics to go forward and become successful, we really will lose our country. This country will no longer be the United States of America that we have always known and loved. And so I really do hope people have started to pay more attention.
Is he scared at all of what might happen, or is he fairly confident he'll be okay?
You know, I've never met a person quite like my father-in-law. I do believe that he was made for a situation like this. He was made for this time, because no one else, Aaron, would be able to stand up to the constant attacks, to the constant scrutiny, to the constant now indictments that he has faced, and still keep fighting, still keep standing, still keep saying, I want to do this not just for me, but for the country, because he really does, I think, understand what is at stake here. He really is an eternal optimist. I think, you know, at the end of the day, he knows he has done nothing wrong, and no different than the Russia collusion hoax, which we all had to live through for years till we finally found out the truth that there was no collusion between Donald Trump, our campaign, and Russia to win in 2016. in much the same way, he knows that the truth ultimately will come out here. It's sad that he has to go through this. It's sad that our country honestly has to go through this. But I do think he's very optimistic. And you know what? When you have the truth in your corner, then no one else can take you down.
And finally, Lara, it's fairly obvious, and that's probably understating it, Donald Trump will be the Republican candidate. Now, a running partner, Vivek Ramaswamy, he is really playing a very smart game and saying things that I think your father-in-law will like. Is he going to be the pick?
Well, Vivek is really a guy who kind of came out of nowhere. I think a lot of people discounted him in general in this Republican field whenever he announced he was running for president. I think he's very smart. I think he's done a lot of things that have grabbed a lot of people's attention. I know my father-in-law likes him because I think it was a week or so ago, Vivek actually said on a stage in front of a bunch of people, Donald Trump is the best president America has ever seen. Donald Trump agrees with that. The good news for the Republican Party, I think, is that if you look at all of the candidates we have right now in this field, it shows that we have a strong bench on the Republican side. You look over to the Democrats, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. I mean, who do they really have over there? RFK Jr. and Marianne Williamson, I know, want to throw their hat in the ring and give it a shot. But really, we have so many good candidates on the Republican side and so many strong contenders for vice president. I don't have any news to break here today, right now with you, Aaron. But when I do, I will come back for sure.
Thank you so much for joining us, as always. I'm sure I'll speak to you next time your father-in-law is charged, which, well, should be very shortly.
You got it. Thanks, Aaron.